Fear No Art, Dream, Sleep, and Creativity, An End Story of N Art by Laura J. Everett. I think this speaks to our community and the way we understand and support each other in our own little world, which is here. For many of you, this story will sound very familiar. Although it probably began in high school when some of my A's turned into C's, I didn't notice a real problem until I started falling asleep while driving home from college on the holidays. You think everyone is just like you are and that you must not be trying hard enough. But I knew falling asleep while driving after an adequate night's sleep was not normal. It took something that drastic for me to realize that something might really be wrong. Around that time, I also began having difficulty staying awake in my classes and was falling behind on assignments. I went to Bowling Green State University in Ohio. Some of my grades began slipping and I was put on probation by the honors program. Still, I accepted this sleepiness as a result of the irregular hours I kept as a busy college dorm student taking honors level courses. I slept whenever I could, between classes, in classes, instead of classes. I even started to stay in when everyone else was going out for a night of fun. But still, I just thought I wasn't taking good care of myself and was living the typical time-demanding college student life. It was supposed to be this hard. But the difficulties of maintaining wakefulness followed me to the workplace after college. Despite a degree in finance and international business, which is still a bit of a blur, I was not able to get a career off the ground. I changed jobs frequently, looking for that right job, the one I could feel passionate about, the one that did not bore me to the point of falling asleep. Then in 1995, 3 years out of college, a local news story gave the first clue that my sleepiness could be a recognized medical disorder. A man had fallen asleep at the wheel on Interstate 71, causing an accident in which an occupant of the other car died. The man was diagnosed with narcolepsy as a result of the accident. The news program provided basic information about narcolepsy and a telephone number to call for further information. This led me to Cephalon, which was conducting modafinil trials at the time. Armed with this knowledge, I followed up with a sleep doctor involved with clinical trials and was soon diagnosed. I am so lucky to have seen that news program. I didn't have medical insurance at the time, and would have never been able to afford a sleep study, let alone know to ask for one. Being part of the clinical trial helped me to get diagnosed and finally realized my sleepiness was real and had a true explanation. The doctor gave me an old mimeographed copy of information about Narcolepsy Network, so it was then that I learned I was not alone. So I was diagnosed just before the age of 26, but long after it had begun to change my life. I spent my fair share of time sleeping in stairwells, bathroom stalls, empty boardrooms, and on office room floors. I had held and lost 11 jobs in 7 years since my college graduation: a nanny, a banker, an administrator, a financial aid assistant, a bookseller, a server, a freelancer. Just more years of struggle trying to find the right medications, the right doctor, and ultimately the quest for the almighty health insurance. By then I was happily, but not without troubles, working part-time for a nonprofit organization of Ohio grantmakers. All 7 women in the office were on their spouses' health plans. I had been there 3 years and had obtained health insurance through the Ohio State University as a 1-credit class student, which allowed me to be eligible for their student health center. The university slowly but surely found out what I was doing and closed this loophole. So then it became time to find health insurance through my employer, the nonprofit organization. Unfortunately, I was alone with a diagnosed and therefore pre-existing chronic illness. No one would dare offer health insurance to me. So a life-altering decision had to be made. Go off meds and flounder once again? I was now also on medications for major clinical depression. Or should I file for the low of all lows, Social Security disability benefits? You've seen those late-night commercials for disability lawyers, seem to prey on the down and out. But in March 1999, at age 30, terrified and reluctant, I left my job and filed for disability benefits at my local Social Security office. The day-to-day struggle had become too much. I needed help and really felt I had no other choice. I barely made enough money to support myself, yet it was too much to qualify for any kind of county or state help. I felt like I was drowning. After receiving my first denial, I immediately hired an attorney who turned out to be rather fantastic. I felt I never could have done it alone. The process was complicated, discouraging, and quite frankly did not make much sense. Also, having an attorney take my case gave me some level of validation that it was just not a worthless and hopeless cause I was fighting for, but something very real. The dreadful process of piles of paperwork and waiting and waiting and writing over and over again how much I suck on paper took a year and a half and nearly destroyed me. Savings gone, retirement gone, credit cards maxed, and with the collection calls beginning, I was left with nothing except a beat-up old Ford Tempo. It was then that I had to turn to my father for help. My self-worth was ruined, my purpose unknown. Each day I simply asked why. I am so grateful that my father was willing and able to help me. Without him, I surely, no joke, would have become homeless as well as penniless. My advice in asking for help is to make it clear up front that saying no is okay. It can put all involved more at ease. So at 30 years old, I was without a job, without money, and fresh out of ideas. What would my life be like now? I was quite afraid to find out. Skip forward to 2 disability denials and finally approval by way of an administrative judge hearing in 2001. I was relieved but also a little heartbroken. To be labeled disabled under the law was nothing but bittersweet. I would now have a small income of my own and some sort of health insurance, but could I continue to live alone? And what would I do with my time? How would I manage my life? I slept, I pondered, I asked myself those hard questions about the meaning of life. Then one day, while sitting at my desk, alone in my little apartment by the river, I saw a coffee cup with some simple, beautiful artwork on the side. I turned the cup over to see if the artist's name was written there, and instead it read D Art, raising awareness about depression through art. This is what I could do. Ideas began to swirl around in my head, and with very positive effect. I could start an art project. So even though narcolepsy had prevented me from maintaining substantial employment in the traditional sense, I knew there was still an important and special way for me to contribute to the world and share of myself. I think this is when I began to truly accept my narcolepsy as something possibly more positive than negative in my life. Through my work serving on the Narcolepsy Network Board of Trustees and writing for their newsletter during that time, I met more and more people with narcolepsy that communicated their experience beautifully through artwork and writings. I started collecting their work and knew I had to find a way to share it. So, completely unsure if I could pull it off, I started to plan a show to take place at the Narcolepsy Network conference later that same year. Luckily, the exhibition was a big hit and touched a lot of people, and so NART had begun. NART is now a free-spirited community that strengthens social support and connection among those with narcolepsy through shared experience, while also encouraging sleep advocacy and expanding awareness to the general public. In 1999, even the hotel staff took a look at our art show and seemed very engaged. Mission accomplished. The ideas for artwork are endless, and I hope you'll be inspired to make something yourself to share in the future. Just take a deep breath and take that chance. Your ideas will work. Your ideas and work will encourage others in understanding narcolepsy and the importance of sleep. You need not be a distinguished artist, poet, or writer to share your work. You have something important to contribute just by being a person with narcolepsy. Through the sharing of artwork and writings, I've been told the stories of people with narcolepsy, from their demons to their hopes and dreams. You have shared so much with me, so delicately, yet with such intense detail that for a time I thought I experienced many of these stories myself. And in some cases I really had. We are a group bonded for life through our similar experiences of living with this hard-to-fathom disorder. I have learned that the expectations of society do not belong to us, but that our inner turmoil turned outward can be shared and released. The suffering, weariness, and anger can serve us well. We evolve to what is truly important in this life. This is our gift. At night, tired and seeking, we turn to the thousand dreams within us that vividly come. We turn silences and disrupted nights into images and words, the unutterable written down, making the whirling world stand still for a moment. Thoughts grappling with more thoughts. Just draw, scribble, anything. Art can help you unravel your struggles by using imagination as a tool for healing. Artwork can be a metaphor for real life or dream experiences, bringing insight to yourself and others. This is what art is all about. There are thousands of examples of famous creativity, ideas, and discoveries that have been induced or materialized from dreams and the dreaming subconscious. Untold number of great writers, poets, musicians, scientists, philosophers, and entrepreneurs have had such amazing dreams throughout history. Albert Einstein came up with all of those ideas and theories in his imaginations and dreams. He is famously quoted as saying, "Imagination is more important than knowledge." Science has confirmed that REM sleep helps people be creative. The University of California at Davis conducted a study dividing subjects into three groups. One rested but did not sleep, one slept in non-REM, and one slept in REM right before testing. Those in the waking rest and non-REM groups showed no increase in creativity, whereas those recently woken from REM sleep showed increase in creative capacity. To explain further, Martin Gillard of the UK writes that there are 4 different types of brain waves: delta, theta, alpha, and beta. Theta waves are the second slowest frequency of brain waves and tend to be associated with dreaming, the early stages of sleep, and enhanced brain creativity. In adults, these waves usually only occur during what is known as the hypnagogic state, which is a transitional state between wakefulness and sleep. Some adults are able to tap into the creative fruitfulness of theta states, the dreamlike state, immediately prior to falling asleep. We as people with narcolepsy have special access to such states of being multiple times day and night, thus our increased creativity, as seen as in the Facebook pages of NART. The great surrealist Salvador Dali is believed to have tapped into the semi-sleep-based hypnagogic state to assist with ideas for his sketches. He would use a similar technique to that of Thomas Edison, in which when he wakened, he would quickly sketch the bizarre images that he pictured in his mind's eye. So above all, do not forget, dreams prove us creative artists, natural poets capable of imagery unbound by the cognitive restrictions of waking life.